It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. My website, emailrevealer.com. You can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure to check out our Patreon. We got Patreon there. If you go to Patreon right now, you'll find the Proud Boys Handbook. I've had that up there for almost 4 years, since 2019. A lot of new content. I don't have it open up in front of me, but we do have a lot of new content just put up on Patreon. And my guest that I'm going to be having on later, Danica Hubbard, you can find her interview on Patreon. That'll be airing too as well. Sex Offenders, My Father's Secret, My Secret Shame, by Danica Hubbard. And she has an appearance coming up. She told me about the Prevent Child Abuse National Conference. It's in August 22nd to 24th in 2023 in Baltimore, Maryland. So keep an eye out for that and keep your ears open for that. Also taped recently with Casey Gain about this murder that took place where there's no body. And it turns out that the woman who was murdered worked in this hotel that involved that case I was telling you about those Secret Service agents that were being paid off, given free apartments and free cars and stuff like that. But these Indian intelligence guys, just the most bizarre. And the headline would say, Secret Service agents duped, Secret Service agents fooled and tricked. They were being bribed, man. Why can't you just say it? So check that out there. That's a great show with Casey Gain McGall, of course. Aaron Sheets, I had him on, taped with him. About the TWA 800. This guy's done a lot of research on TWA 800. I'd say he's an expert, and much more pleasant to talk to than some of the other experts on the topic. Then we have, who's that guy? Thomas Lewinston. Okay, I spoke to today about this case, very elaborate case with this young boy with autism that was framed for this murder. And then when he was sitting, he almost got off. He almost got acquitted, but one juror changed his mind at the last second, and then they put him in a cell with a well-known informant. This guy Jack Hall, John Hall, the guy's name was. And the guy got him. They set this guy all up with a fake confession. The poor kid, had never had a chance in life. I better move on because we got a lot of content. I got this huge story about this judge in Vegas. But before we get to that, follow me on Twitter. Okay, follow me on Twitter. There's a lot of drama going on Twitter, a lot of misunderstandings. Check me out on Spreaker.com. We do a live show every Friday night on Spreaker.com, 8 p.m. It's a solo podcast, just like I'm doing right now tonight. And it goes out to the podcast audience. And if you sign up at Spreaker.com, you get an email notification. Anytime I put up new content, I play repeats every single night. All the archives are there. And there's a chat room, too, as well. We got a couple of cool people in the chat room right now. Really, really, really difficult week this week. You might remember a guest I had on years and years ago. First she came on, she was a Bernie girl. And then she came on again on a Thanksgiving show with me and Vic back that's how long ago it was, So we've stayed in contact over the years. We're very good friends. And she's had these seizures, And this is the one I told you about. She went missing for a couple of years. And her mother called me up to help her locate her. And we found the car in this motel. And she turned out she was okay, but she was missing for quite a bit of time there, mixed up with some people. And so anyways, now she's been having these seizures. They're doing these evaluations of her brain, these like brain scans, and may need brain surgery. So if you can keep her in your prayers, her name is Courtney, and really a lovely, adorable woman. Then another friend of mine, too, I just got a notice from her that's 26 years old, 3 kids, and she's facing 20 years in prison. So getting mixed up with drugs, allegedly, but that's still, my God, 26 years old, man, 3 kids, a little overreaction there, I think. Okay, the show we're going to be doing tonight, it's about this case in Las Vegas. This judge, I'll make sure the right show's playing. Yeah, the death of Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson and Las Vegas corruption and cover-ups. Now, if you look up this story, Judge Melanie Andress-Tobiasson, what you're going to find in every single Google search is this story that says, there's so much content here. I got notes all over the place. I'm sorry. The story says, it'll say something along the lines of, 53 years old, commits suicide a year after being forced to resign to avoid an ethics probe. But there is so much more to this story, okay? And I want to thank a podcaster named Doug Papa Podcast. You can find him on YouTube. And he's been reporting on this for years. I don't know how I dropped the ball on this and haven't been reporting on this. And now she's gone. And the mother of one of the murder victims in this case is gone as well, again by suicide. I heard about this first from our guest Jody Williams, who was on here years and years and years ago, and she started talking about this. The story of Shane Valentine, this pimp in Las Vegas, with connections to that guy Mally Mal, who was who was also a convicted pimp, who was on that show Love After Hip Hop or Love, something Love Hip. He was on some reality TV show. He's a well-known guy. He's a kind of rapper, I think, rap star, stuff like that. So, what happened was, let's see. Oh boy, this is the worst notes situation I've ever had. Okay, ever doing a show. I promise you. In 2015, this judge is sitting on the bench, and she has a case where these 2 young girls that were working for this pimp, Shane Valentine, beat up the daughter of another judge. Now, the other judge is a well-known judge. I've never heard of this Judge Tobiasson, only from this story. But the other judge is a well-known judge. The other judge is Michelle Levitt. Now, so her daughter was working for this pimp, okay? This judge's daughter, Michelle Levitt, okay? And it turns out later on, this judge had another case with a friend, whether the defendant was a friend of this pimp, that her daughter was, at one point they were roommates, okay? And that was this crazy case of this kid, Kyrie Jabon James, 18 years, I think it was 17 or 18, it was 17 years old at the time. And this group of 4 kids wanted to steal an ounce of marijuana from this female teenage marijuana dealer. They lured her into an abandoned house and they shot her in the head and killed her for a $300 bag of marijuana. And then the killer just happens to be friends with the judge's daughter and the judge's daughter's boyfriend. Well, the judge's daughter's pimp, So what happens is, that's the case back in 2015 in front of this Judge Tobias. So then Shane Valentine and 4 other guys, they come to the back of the courtroom and they're sitting there, they're intimidating the judge's daughter when she's testifying on the stand. Judge Tobias sees this and kicks them out of the courtroom there. Now it turns out later on, one of the girls who did the beating turns up dead before the hearing. Okay, I don't know what the cause of death of her was. And there's a lot of stuff in this case that you can't find out. Like this kid, Kabari, I can't find his case, and I can't find him in the Nevada Department of Corrections. He's just not there. So I thought maybe because he's 17, he wasn't serving time as an adult. But if it's a murder, he should be serving in an adult prison now. It's over. He's 18 now, So I don't know what's going on with that. That's a lot of weird stuff. Even trying to find information about these cases. Just like I said, how the title of all these stories right now don't mention any of this stuff. Okay, just that she committed suicide because of an ethics complaint. And that ethics complaint, from what I've seen, is ridiculous. Okay? The cops have been more unethical in this than this judge even slightly was. I'm going to place, she filed a motion to dismiss the ethics complaint, and I'm going to place that up in the Patreon too as well. So you can read through that. I haven't had a chance to read that, especially now since right before the show, this Tyree Nichols, this beat down of this poor kid. We got to watch that and go through that over and over again. There was like 10 cops there. I don't know how only 5 are getting arrested on this. And it sounds to me at one point like he's saying, it wasn't me, go ask unintelligible. Like they knew each other and they were hunting this kid down because of a deal gone bad. That's my prediction that we're going to find out about that case. So she kicks these guys out of the courtroom, right? And then she finds out one of these other girls who beat up the girl was a police officer's daughter, okay? No, what happens is this. When the judge kicks Shane out of the courtroom, he finds out that this judge has a daughter from a police officer's daughter that's also pimping for him, also prostituting for him, okay? So he goes to the judge's daughter and starts, flirting with her and stuff like that. And she winds up hanging out at this clothing store. It's a hip-hop clothing store in Chinatown called Top Notch. But the judge finds out it's really a front for prostitution, for illegal alcohol. It's like a club, where they're serving alcohol, they're serving hookah. They got stripper poles in the back and all kinds of weird stuff going on there. So the daughter goes there to get a fake ID. And this guy, Shane, starts telling her, hey, come work for me. She starts working there at the store, and then he's trying to put her out on the street. The mother, for some reason, she says, well, I don't want to alienate myself from my daughter. I don't want to. The kid was a sophomore in high school. Now, and my relationship with my kid is far different from this, I'll tell you that. Because, I wouldn't let this happen, man. Oh, boy. So she finds out that the 2 guys who own this nightclub, Top Notch, this illegal club, they're 34 years old, and they have a background as being pimps, okay, a criminal record as being pimps. So the judge starts contacting the vice department and saying, hey, you got this operation going on over here. They're selling girls out of the place, underage girls. I got all the license plates of the cars pulling up. The judge is doing a whole investigation on her own. They do nothing. Nothing. And then she finds out that her daughter wants to work there. Her daughter's getting more and more involved in this stuff. And she finds out that there are certain pimps in Las Vegas that are untouchable. Now, you've heard this from Jody Williams herself. Most of these escort services, these pimps, these brothels, these madams, they're informants, okay, which is why Heidi Fleiss was an informant. Dennis Hoff was an informant. This is blackmail. This is what they do. So she's kind of thinking it's because, well, they're paying off money and stuff like that. Maybe some of that was going on, too. But it seems to be at a much higher level than a street investigation. So she's given the cops this information back in December 2015. And so she goes to Vice again. Okay, the more that her daughter's getting involved. And she's wondering why they're not doing anything. So she thought they were just lazy. And that's why they weren't doing it. As a matter of fact, and even after a long time, they get one vice cop to go there. He walks through his whole investigation. He shows up there in the afternoon. He walks through, and he sees that it's definitely an illegal operation, but he doesn't do anything about it. Now, this guy, Shane Valentine, he's also involved in burglaries, okay? And they tell this judge, when she's talking to Vice, she's talking to burglary, that this guy's involved with as many as 600 burglaries, okay? Some of them, he's caught on video, okay? There's another, he gets charged with one, okay? And then he gets out on bail on that. There were another 6 where they had his DNA and they had his fingerprints. They didn't charge him with those because the guy's untouchable. The only one they charge him with, he's right there on video. Okay, I'm staring right at the camera. There's certain things you can't get away with, right? So he gets out, he goes right back into all this stuff. Now, it seems, because there's so many articles on this, little aspects of it, that there was a murder at this club, Top Notch. And 2 different guys were arrested for it. And the cops kind of, they told, the guy had a lawyer too. And they told the guy, come in, tell us what you know, and we'll keep your name out of everything. You can be a confidential informant. You won't be charged. You won't do any time. Not that he wouldn't be charged, but that he wouldn't have to do any time, or a very short time. But what happens is, in the complaint, they mention his name, that he's the witness. And then on his sentencing date, The judge was out of town. They had a traveling judge in town who didn't know what the deal was. The guy wound up going to prison. Short time, but he wound up going to prison. And then the other guy went to prison, too. Now, right after that, so and the judge is saying, hey, man, I've been telling you about this place for a year, and now you got a murder there, okay? So, we're doing on time. Oh, we're doing good, okay. So then, it was, let me see the date on this thing here. On October 8th, 2016, there's some kind of a beef between this guy Shane Valentine and one of his friends, former friends, who took away a couple of his prostitutes and then wound up dead. Okay, we're going to be getting into that in a minute. All right? The guy's name is Nehemiah Neo Kaufman. Okay? And his girlfriend was Sydney Land. So what happens is, now they have the text messages from Valentine's phone. He gets into some kind, well, he's pissed off at Kaufman because he's cutting in on his business and stealing his women. But there's also something about he was trying to purchase some kind of a gun or obtain a gun from Kaufman. Maybe he had loaned it to him. Maybe Kaufman was supposed to get one for him. We don't know. But Kaufman wasn't home. And Valentine, Shane Sugar Valentine, is texting Kaufman saying, hey, I'm on my way over there. Kaufman gives him the address and the gate code. He says, yeah, okay, I'm waiting for you. I'm trying to come to my house. I'm going to shoot you. Things are escalating. But Nehemiah wasn't there. His mother was there, and there were 3 children there, but Nehemiah was bluffing, I guess. So Shane shows up at the front door. He crashes his car. He's got a rental car, okay? He's only like 20 years old, and he's already got a bunch of priors. Let me get into that right after this. He crashes the door into the door, and then he shoots a bullet into the ceiling. And then he takes a big giant rock and he throws it through the window. Takes off running. Now, Nehemiah shows up. He doesn't want to cooperate with the cops, but his mother does. And neighbors got the plate numbers. They got everything. So they know exactly who this guy is and what he did. He takes off. He goes to California. Okay? Some of this I might be conflating. This kid, by the way, Shane, I looked up his record in Nevada Department of Corrections, his criminal record. In 2011, this guy has an assault with a deadly weapon, invasion of home. Okay? Now, for that, he only did 1 year. No, 2 years. He only did for assault with a deadly weapon and home invasion. He did 2 years. Okay? And then there was a burglary that was right around the same time. That was in 2016. Now, he's out on bail for that burglary when he goes and does the shooting for the house. Was it? Yeah, it was, yeah. So then he shoots up the house. The cops don't even go in and dig into the ceiling and remove the bullet from the ceiling, okay, until later. So then what happens is the mother, the judge, Miss Tobias, she's going back and forth to the police and stuff like that, and they bring in the daughter of the cop to question her. And when they bring her in, they tell her, well, do you know this judge's daughter? And she goes, oh yeah, she's my friend. Oh, well, we got your name from her mother. So now these cops out the judge, the one that just committed suicide, Tobias, to the member of this gang, you know? And the mother, the judge, she's pretty slick. She tries to bring her daughter and the cop's daughter over to her house. She says, oh, well, there's many ways they would have said that. I don't know. But she's trying to come up with this big story. Well, don't say anything. You girls are in big danger. Don't say anything. Soon as the girl leaves the house, she tweets out, cops just pulled me in. Okay? So she's telling everybody in town, now, hey, our friend's mother ratted me out, man, to the cops. Because her daughter went to the mother and said, why'd you call the cops on us? So everyone knows that this is going on now. That's like the 26th, okay, of October. when is this date here and now? This next one. That was on the 26th at like 12:30 at night. Okay. The next day, Nehemiah Kaufman and his girlfriend Sydney Lamb, someone comes to the house and shoots him in the head and kills them both. Okay. Now, they just had arrest. Now they're going now to get the bullet out of the ceiling in the first place because Shane is a suspect in that case, along with these two other guys. Right? Let me see if I put it over here. Yeah, I did. Shane Valentine was a suspect. A guy named Frankie Zappia and Dominique Thompson. Okay, these are all suspects in the murder of Land and Kaufman. Now, when you look this up, it says that Frank Zappia's stepdad was a former Las Vegas PD officer, right? And you don't find out till later on when you find reading in different places, because they always mention he's the stepson of this former officer. That officer retired 4 days after the murder. Okay, that's how he became a former officer. So, after that murder, they're looking into Shane more, and they pick him up. He has a warrant for a burglary, and they pick him up on the charge there of shooting into the ceiling, and they charge him for shooting into what do they call it? Shooting into a domestic dwelling, discharging a firearm at a structure, vehicle burglary. There was a different burglary charge. They had 6 charges on him, but they only charged him with 1. So, but he's a suspect in this other case. There's no one's been arrested for this. No one. The girl, what's her first name? Land. Let me pull this up over here. The girl Land, Sydney Land, her mother commits suicide about a year ago, right? So now this woman's all fed up. This Judge Tobias, she starts talking to the FBI, right? She was at this dinner with this woman who runs this group called Sesame, and what they do is they track teachers that have allegations of sexual misconduct in their classrooms and their students, and so that they can't just be transferred to another school. That's like priests are just transferred and they go get another job somewhere else. They keep tracking them. There's like a database. I'm going to try and get an interview with her. And maybe she'll know more about this story, too. And I'm going to be replaying the shows with Jody Williams, too, because I know it's mentioned in one of those shows. We did like 3 shows with her, and everybody always loves those shows. Oh, boy. So now she's going to the FBI saying, hey, what's going on? The local vice cops aren't looking into any of this. This guy's clearly involved with this murder. The judge, Tobias, starts investigating the case herself. The FBI agent gives her a burner phone so that they can communicate, because the FBI agent is worried that he's going to get in trouble because of the corruption, right? So now get this. According to Tobias, and I believe her, she says that the local Las Vegas Metro Police called up the FBI and said, don't talk to that woman. She's interfering in our investigation. She's interfering in our cases. And it winds up that he does stop talking to them. And then get this. That FBI agent, okay, or his boss, and the Las Vegas Metro Police Department boss who called him up, both wind up getting jobs for Wynn Security. Wynn, Steve Wynn Hotels. They both wind up getting cushy jobs over there, okay? And then the cop who ratted her out to the cop's daughter, right? He gets promoted to homicide, where now he has access to the Shane Valentine file, to his murder of Land and Kaufman. Do people understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense here, guys? Somebody in the chat room want to give you a little heads up here for this is making sense? Because it's so damn complicated. There's just so much here. We could do 25 shows on this. And hopefully, we'll be able to flush this out with some more guests that'll make more sense. But the murder took place. It was October 26th at 12:30 a.m., and the murders took place like the next night. So this was like right away. Oh, my God. So it turns out there's text messages that show that this Shane Valentine was a police informant. That came out. Oh, yeah. Now, here's the thing, too. You keep hearing about how every single title in this story about Tobias and her suicide is that she had to step down to avoid an ethics investigation. There was a 2-year ethics investigation of this woman. Okay? Now, Vegas judges, they got some crazy judges in Vegas. There was this one judge who was neglecting her animals, and she had like a stagnant water in her backyard. The health department was coming down. Building code, all that kind of stuff. Code enforcement was coming down. Mistreating the animals. There was this other judge, a family court judge, who was divorced, and he would go on these dates with these girls. They'd get drunk. He'd get home, get into a big giant fight with them, then call the police and have them arrested for domestic violence. He did this like 5 times, okay, over and over and over. There was another one, a judge, I actually met him, that was involved with some kind of sexual abuse thing, of an employee or something. Let me think. There were just so many. Even the judge that I had, by the way, in my divorce, the last one, her daughter was a meth addict that was out there doing stuff. Oh, boy. So this 2-year ethics investigation. Now, one thing that might have some meat on there is she was meeting with this guy 1,000 times. She met with some fellow who had like 1,000 text messages and met with this guy who had some kind of organized crime connections and had some kind of drug trafficking charges. And she even was involved to where she was present as when she was a prosecutor when he had charges dropped against him. So, that's a little suspect in my head. But the rest of this stuff is nothing. Okay? Breaching judicial rules after discovering she had repeated claims to federal agents. Cops went as far as to track her phone and claim she was interfering with the Vice investigation following her original complaint. She failed to comply with and uphold the law and allowed family interests and relations to influence her conduct. None of this seems all that unreasonable to me. So the Tobiasson reaches out to Lan's mother, and they begin and also, too, they're communicating back and forth on burner phones, too, as well. You can imagine the fear going on with these people, the intimidation. They're dealing with these guys with these lengthy criminal, what do you call it? Criminals, like serious people, guys in home invasions, shooting at the ceilings. And now there's a murder right around your family that your 16-year-old daughter, your sophomore daughter, is friends with. So they were using burner phones to communicate with Lan's mother and sent messages to a woman she thought was involved in the murder. Yeah, that's that young girl whose father was a cop. Oh, get this. So Tobiasson kind of admitted. By the way, at one point, get this, Shane Valentine was a defendant in Tobiasson's court on another matter. And she didn't recuse herself from that. As soon as she saw him and she recognized him, she didn't recuse herself. She called the 2 attorneys, the prosecution and the defense, they had a negotiated deal. So she calls them into the judge's office there, and she says, well, he's not getting any time. This is a negotiated deal. I'm not going to recuse myself, but if something comes up in the future that I have to recuse myself, I'm going to. So they all agreed everything was cool. Let's move ahead. Then, before the next hearing, she does recuse, the next status check, she does recuse herself. Shane starts calling Tobias' daughter again. He called her up and says, hey, it's Sugar, in a text. She blocks his number. He calls back on a different number. Why are you blocking me? Let's get together. Now, just imagine, okay, a regular defendant in front of a judge on a criminal case, and you start calling that judge's daughter. Okay? They would come you would be arrested. They would hunt you down and throw you under the jail in minutes. Nothing. Yeah, she had links to this fellow, Anthony Dana, who was a documented organized crime figure. They were getting her phone records to check her out and stuff. This is a huge... Metro launched a bigger investigation into the judge than they did this Shane Valentine of the murder. Okay? So then she resigned in order to avoid... she resigned in order to avoid the investigation. You know? What are you going to do? And now she's dead. After all they put her through. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, one of the guys who they suspected in all this, Dominique Thompson, was arrested on other charges. He's out now. They're all out. They're all out walking around, doing whatever they want. But there was this other thing that was here at the end of this story, the whole crazy new stuff. Yeah, they ruled, because they had an internal investigation of one of these cops for leaking. Because what happened was this. As part of the 2-year ethics investigation, the mother of the young lady, Land, that was killed, also made a complaint against Tobias. Even though they had been working together, they had some kind of falling out must have happened, because she turned on her and started became part of the complaint. But there was an internal affairs investigation when Land, the mother, went to internal affairs. They told her, because she found out that internal affairs, no, not internal affairs, she found out that homicide was giving information to Tobiasson. Okay, so she went to internal affairs and said, "What's going on here? How can you be leaking information about my case to this woman who's now coming to me, telling me not to talk to this judge, not to talk to that cop? You know, how is it ethical for you to give this information to this judge?" And they told her, "Well, it's not unethical, but it really is." And another thing too, I keep wondering about, because she's talking about how she would report this to homicide, she would report this to Vice, and she would report this to burglary. Like, she was just like walking over there and talking to them and calling them up on the phone. Like, if this is a judge, she's a former prosecutor, why wouldn't she have the wherewithal to know to write it down in a letter, in a report with exhibits, you know, and you mail it to them, certified mail, that now they're responsible. They have to acknowledge that they received it. So that's kind of strange too. Let's see what else. Yeah, this was the case where she recused herself. Well, there's some stuff at the end of this story. Yeah, this is all the stuff about the FBI telling her all the stuff about how the Metro cops told FBI to lay off the story. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. There's just so much here. I'll try and come up with some guests on this to give us some more information. What are you going to do, right? Hey, so let's see. What else is going on this week? I had a feeling I wouldn't be able to do this story justice. I even told Doug Papa, and I begged him to come on and help me with this, man. There's just way too much going on here. Just way too much going on with this. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Because I can't get in there. Ooh. Okay. Oh, by the way, check out my TikTok. We got a great TikTok, and I got like 3 or 4 people helping me. I got Shane McKay helping out, and a couple of other guys. And so we have content all about the Yippies, running with the Bulls, a lot of great stuff on TikTok, and it's also going up on my Instagram too. Let's see, invitation, come on. That's the wrong one. Oh, brother. It's like one of the worst shows I've done in a long time. You know? God, did it again. Come on. Yeah, go there. I want to open up this one. Okay. We got Turbo Paul, the art hostage. He's coming back, too. All right. Adam Sheets is the one with the TWA 800. I got a DEA agent. A lot of people enjoyed that show with the DEA agent. He's coming back. And Frank Falzone. No, the DEA agent was the one who came on about the French Connection. It comes on about the French Connection. And what do you call it? It turns out he confirms that the two cops that I always heard stole the French Connection heroin, were the ones who did it, okay? And he would know because he was behind the French Connection. So he's going to come back and talk about this largest cocaine bust that there ever was in the United States, and he ran the whole operation there. So I'm going to ask him about that, but I'm also going to ask him about Tommy Chong and Operation Pipeline. That was such a bizarre case, man, where they set up Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong and went in there and tried to get him to sell glass pipes and smoking devices to states where they're not allowed, you know, and he wouldn't do it. So finally they went in there and said, hey, listen, we'll take all your inventory that you can't sell, all the stuff with the dust in the back. We'll take that stuff for you. So he sells it to them. They don't pick it up, right? They leave. And they're saying, well, listen, ship it over to this state over here. Ship it over. And he's saying, like, we can't ship it there. It's illegal. But we already paid for it. Ship it to us. Right? But they won't do it. They actually went as far as to put an agent as an employee in Tommy Chong's place, and he shipped it to them. The DEA shipped it to themselves. They committed the crime, okay? So, and then he pled guilty because he didn't want his son and I think it's his ex-wife to get in too much trouble. So that's what I'm going to ask him about that one, too. I'm taping tomorrow. Yeah, that's with him. I'm taping with him tomorrow. And then I'm taping with this woman from Vegas, Amber Waite, who I used to know back in Vegas when we were activists over there. She was involved with the Standing Rock. She was involved in all the stuff with the Democratic Convention when we were all Bernie delegates and stuff like that. And she wrote some book. It's like a book about natural healing and meditation and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to having her come down and go over that stuff with her. Guess what? Mike Dowd. I've been in touch with Mike Dowd. I was also in touch with Frank Serpico, man. I think he was ready to come on the show. But then we had all those lunatics spamming me and doing all that kind of crazy stuff. What do you call it? So Frank Dowd. Mike Dowd is that New York City cop that was in the 75th Precinct movie that you see on Netflix. And the people who filmed with Mike Dowd are the same people the crew that came to my house and filmed with me. So it's kind of funny, too, because they said, we got more with you in one night than we got in weeks with Mike Dowd. And I said, okay. I said, boy, I thought that Mike Dowd thing was so good. She goes, no, you're no Mike Dowd. So I don't know, but that thing never took off. It's not going to go anywhere. We are working on editing together the full Hunter Biden laptop story, and we're going to be making like a 1-hour documentary about that. More kind of like in the way we've been doing the Reels and the TikToks, but just in a longer format to just put the whole thing together. Yeah, what that is, Mac, okay, it's a misunderstanding is what that is, okay? These guys that have been stalking me all freaking week long over this misunderstanding have gone out and made all kinds of websites and domains about me, okay? Because it's a misunderstanding, right? Because that's why. It's all just a harmless misunderstanding. So I wonder, by the way, back to this Tyree Nichols thing. Like I said, you know, I really didn't want to watch that thing, and I really didn't want to watch it right before the show. But, you know, there it is. And there we see it. To me, it looks like in the beginning he's saying something like, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. You can ask so-and-so. And I suspect that there's more to this. And these cops are on some kind of deal gone bad with this Tyree Nichols. And that's what's going to come out of this. Back in Vegas, there was a situation where these two cops were in separate cars, but they're high speed running without lights and sirens. And they crash into another car. And I think someone got killed. Now, I've been trying to go back and search for this. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Vegas. It's in the papers for a few days, or you could find pictures of it, and then it just vanishes off the internet. It's gone forever. Okay? So, what I found, well, first of all, they crashed their car. There's an investigation. Why were they racing without these lights and sirens? And then the guy they crash into, they arrest him for suspected DUI. It turns out that he wasn't a DUI. They had to release him. The charges were dropped there. And it turns out, what we find out later on, now I don't know if this was in the papers or not, or this was in the news or not, but it turns out what happened is one of these cops was racing to his girlfriend's house, who was married. He was dating a married woman. And she was in some kind of a fight with her husband. And the cop was racing over there to get involved. And he was bringing one of his buddy cops over. And they were both on their cell phones as they're driving the high speed through the streets. And then they crash into this guy. Now, what I've heard, okay, I can't document this. I can't prove this. But what I heard is they faked up a 911 call. And they faked up the 911 recording. And that's there was no 911 call. They didn't call. The dispatch certainly didn't dispatch these cops. But they added one later on to cover up for this whole big mess. So there's that. Another thing, too, is, like, I'll tell you right now, like with the Eric Garner murder, where the police murdered Eric Garner, the first one that was saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Eric Garner, about a year before that, had made a civil rights complaint from Rikers Island against some of the cops who wound up killing him. Okay? Now, that's really hard to find and really hard to see. Now, I posted it. I have the actual complaint, and I read the complaint on the air, and you can find it if you go on Spreaker. Eric Garner filed a civil rights complaint, and what they did was these same cops stopped him in the street. They strip searched him in the street. He was naked in the street. And then they digitally examined his anus, a cavity search, in public in the street. Okay? So those cops were harassing and basically raping Eric Garner for a long time before that incident when they went there and choked him out and killed him. And then handcuffed him and then stepped over his body like it was just a piece of trash. Okay? And it wasn't just like this case we have here today. They're all like black cops. All 5 black cops are black. And by the way, that's interesting too. There's like 10 cops there, but they're only arresting 5. Maybe the other cops are white. That's why they didn't get arrested. Let's find out what's going on there. So, Eric Garner is lying there in the street, and there's a supervisor, a black female supervisor, stepping over his body as he's dying there in the street. And when you see this guy Tyree, you know, they kick their boot, kicking him to the head, to the point where he can't even talk or make sense anymore. And then they handcuff him, and he's lying down. They sit him up, and he's falling over onto his face and onto his head repeatedly until finally he doesn't move anymore. It took like 30 minutes for the ambulance, the fire, the rescue to get there and take care of him. So this is not going to be fun. You know, there's just more trauma going on in the country. Whenever they play these things over and over and over again, and it just makes people traumatized. You know, there's no other way to say it. It's just a huge... What am I doing? I'm going over here. Let's see what's new in... Aaron Sheets, The Mystery of TWA 800. Very knowledgeable guy. J. Michael Bennett, 2 Masters and 2 Gospels. Volume 1, The Teaching of Jesus for the 11 of the Pharisees in talk radio and cable news. I don't remember what that was. Michael R. McGowan, Ghost. Oh, no, yeah, that's that FBI agent. Yeah, Michael McGowan. Yeah. And the FBI is working overtime to salvage its current reputation. Yeah, good luck. Jules Cameron, Pontifical Secret. That was a good guest. And then we have here Pierre Charette. This guy I'm interviewing tomorrow, The Real French Connection. Pete Charette, this French guy who worked on the French Connection case. Let's see. Buell Wesley Frazier. Now, he's the guy who drove Oswald to work that day, and with the whole thing with the curtain rods and stuff. And he had some very, very interesting stuff to say. One thing he said is when he was there at work and the motorcade was coming by, he could hear the motorcycles making their motorcycles backfire, and it sounded like gunshots. It's like, distracting gunshots going on. No one's ever said that before. I've never heard that before. And then he talked, too, about how there was some guys hanging out down at the end of his block, and he called the cops. The cop went over there, and they left. But didn't arrest him, didn't tell him what happened. Let's see. Frank Falzone, the legendary San Francisco detective, I had him on. The Proud Boys, I re-uploaded. No, what's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, this is great. This is the order on sanctions against Trump and his attorney Haba for nearly $1 million for their frivolous lawsuits where they sued like 30 people, Hillary Clinton and Comey and all those people. They did all that last year. This is such a scathing attack against Trump and Haba, who, by the way, is the same one who got screwed on that whole custodian of records with the top secret documents over there in Mar-a-Lago. So that poor woman, man, her legal career is like next to over. Hey, so anyway, read that. That's good stuff. Devin Thomas O'Shea, the Veiled Prophet. They got this parade thing that they do in New Orleans, I think it is. And that girl from The Office was one of the women who was in it. It's in St. Louis. Professor Laura Dilley, QAnon Disinformation on Twitter. And then I had that other fellow, too, on QAnon recently. A lot of people who think that this whole big orchestrated trolling and stalking attack that started this week is over those QAnon interviews. I know one of the people involved did work for Ken Watkins, the fellow who ran 4chan. That's for sure. And when I was being spammed the other night, many of the accounts were Where We Go One, Where We Go All. So that's a possibility, too. I'm on top of that whole situation. We're definitely going to track them. One guy just totally outed himself. We got him for that. And others we'll handle one by one. But it's been a horrible, horrible week of stalking and criminal stuff, criminal activity, for sure. Over what everyone kept telling me over and over was just a misunderstanding. Well, by now, you got to see it's not a misunderstanding. If people are, there was a whole thing this week where a former guest was claiming that we edited his show. And what happened was I just uploaded the show the other day, completely unedited from start to finish, from even before it ever went over to my editors. That's from the Skype recording, okay? What happened was he had contacted me, and I could read. What I'm thinking of doing with that is, because if everyone involved in this agrees to release our private communications, okay, every lie will be exposed, and I will be proven exactly what I've been saying all along. Now, he came to me in a private message on Twitter and says, "Oh my goodness, Ed, there's a portion of that interview where I said some stuff about a sealed case, and I need to take it out." And I said, "Okay, we can do that. I'll send it over to you. You listen to it. You jot down the times, and we'll cut it out." I was going to have my guys do it. Instead, when I sent it to him, he edited it himself, and he even says he used Audacity. But I wasn't thinking my big weird thing's going to go blow up in my face the next day. And he edited, I think Ed Parnell said that he added in a line, okay? Something about the preschool. I'm not sure what it is. But you can hear the whole thing. It's uploaded now. We upload it on Spreaker, and it'll be on Apple Plays and all that kind of stuff. Where the original questions about the preschool is there. That's exactly what he said, okay? Now, he's claiming I edited it. I don't even know what he's talking about. I wasn't even paying attention to that interview. If we release the whole thing, like I said, the private messages, you'll see that I didn't care about that interview. It was a last-minute interview. I needed to upload some stuff quickly. I was going on a road trip or something. I told him, "Listen, if you want, I'll shelve it. We can throw the thing away." He wanted to re-record. I said, "I'm going to re-record this, man, you know. And so I'll just, toss it. It's not a big deal." And he was just obsessed with this interview. He's running around now saying that he hated the interview. He hated me. It was the worst interview of his life. That the woman involved hates me. She was afraid of me. Okay, I have all the communications, okay? In that private message, he goes to this woman. He says, hey, do you want to go back on that opera? And she goes, yeah, not right now, but I want to do it. I just have to do my stupid publishers first. Okay, my stupid publisher has a podcast, and I have to do my stupid publishers a show first. So, like I said, everything can come out if everyone agrees to release all the private communications. And you know what? I'm the only one willing to do it. And since no one else is willing to do it, and now I got people stalking me in my chat room here, maybe I'll just go by memory, okay? And audible, I'm not going to say read it. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to use my memory and just say what I recall these private messages saying. And if anyone says I'm a liar, then you release it, okay? How's that? All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm sorry to keep going back to that situation, but you really can't imagine, okay, how obsessed these people are with me. 24 hours, all right? And now the thing is, I've been involved in big 24-hour stuff with Tiger Woods, okay, Charlie Sheen. I've been involved in big 24-hour news stories before in the past. Stormy Daniels, okay? So I know how to handle this stuff. And I think you guys are going to find that out. All right, guys, thank you so much. Good night.